Hi, I'm Dr. David Kashmer. Welcome to our next 20-minute webinar masterclass. And here's what you're going to learn. You're going to learn all about where and how your MCAT score will get you in. You're going to learn about whether your score will get you in and where. And like one of our students in the course said, am I cooked? Am I cooked at a particular school? She suggested titling the whole talk that kind of makes sense because the question many students ask when they go to formulate their strategy for where they're going to apply is, man, am I just out of luck at this school? Or on the other side, hey, I did great at the MCAT. Should I just put all of these dream schools on my list? So today, let's talk about how to know where your score will get you and the particulars, not just if it's definite, not definite, but about all the in-betweens, because that's what really matters. Well, like I said, my name is David Kashmer. I'm the chair of admissions at a U.S. medical school. I'm part of the team that helped create MCAT Smackdown, not just to help you get your best score on the MCAT, but really importantly, to understand what doors that score makes less likely and more likely for you as an individual. Today, in about the next 20 minutes, we're going to go through how you know what exactly your MCAT score means and how best to prioritize where you're applying and what you're targeting. Let's get to it. Well, again, this course is taught by someone who reads the applications. That's why it's worth listening for about the next 20 minutes. I'm a board-certified surgeon. I have clinical expertise. I've taught students who are in medical school for their boards, residents who are about to take their board exams, and of course, medical student colleagues and pre-medical student colleagues who are trying to do the best they can on their MCAT. We packaged up our years of teaching for the MCAT, myself and the group, created MCAT Smackdown, and when we thought about it, we realized it's not just about helping you get your best score on the MCAT. It's about contextualizing it and telling you what we think that means, because like so many students ask on Reddit and beyond, hey, what does this score mean for me? What does it do for my options? How does it help me? So we're here today to answer some of that. Again, I'm the chair of admissions. I sit on a U.S. Medical School Admissions Committee as the chair of admissions. I help guide that committee for our decisions, contextualize things, and read a lot of applications. I'm also, again, one of the founders of MCAT Smackdown. I helped build this system the way I would have wanted it when I went to apply for medical school. So it has those advanced tools, like an AI coach, like a record of why you're missing what you're missing and what your score leaks are. And now, importantly, it has a tool to contextualize your MCAT score along with who you are to kind of figure out where you should be targeting and whether or not you're cooked at a particular school. All right. The cutoff myth is real. Your score is not a cutoff. It really is a coordinate. And the myth is that there's a magic number. And if you're higher than the magic number, you're good to go. And if you're lower, well, you don't get into that school. So applicants tend to obsess over a single threshold, like it's a locked door. Turns out that's not how things work. This time today, I should be really clear, I'm not sharing anything about our medical school's admissions process beyond what we already have online, or any data that AACOMAS or AAMC, those bodies that govern how we do what we do. I'm not sharing any of the data that they give to medical schools specifically. This is all based on publicly available data. It's just packaged a certain way for you to understand. The reality of your score is that it's just a point on a map. The problem is you as an applicant often don't have the map. Your GPA and MCAT define a probability, at least part of a probability, not a verdict. Strategy determines what happens next, and we're going to show you how today. No single number guarantees admission or rejection, and context is everything. You'll see how. These are the only two questions that really matter for applicants as they go to formulate their strategy. Everyone is asking really the same two things, and the entire strategy flows from answering them honestly. So let's take a second and go through them. 1. How does my score affect my chances at the school that I want? Well, part of what's so difficult about this is a score is not binary. It's continuous. It's 503, 521. your score is this number, and the question is, how does a particular score raise or lower the probability? How much? What does it mean? And what about the schools I want to target? Does it matter if the school is in my state? How much does it matter if the school is in my state? Because answers that tend to be yes or no, well, they're better than nothing. But if we can show you how much probability shift and what to target, that can be very informative and useful, and we'll show you how. Understanding your real probability at a specific target, not a guess, but a calculated estimate based on certain factors, well, that's super useful to give you an idea of where to spend your resources and time when you go to prioritize your list of schools that you're targeting. And that's the next question. Which schools should I actually target? Building a list that maximizes your probability of at least one acceptance within your budget and your residency advantage and any other constraints, that's really the key. So these are the two questions. How much does my score affect my chances at the school I want? And what school should I really be targeting? All right, well, here's some of how committees think. And I'm not sharing anything private or particular about the school that I hope, but there are about 3 steps every time. And there's kind of a base rate for how the school, how many applicants it gets, etc. There's a certain selectivity of the school. You may not know why it's as selective as it is, but you may know how many applicants it rejects as a proportion of how many it brings in. And residency is a factor for many schools. Where's the person from is often a factor. There are many things schools aren't allowed to take into account when they determine who they're going to take. But in general, these things are just some of the factors that you can see from the outside based on admissions patterns. You don't need to know what's under the hood in the specifics of how a school's admissions committee works to get a sense of the probability that you will end up at that school or be accepted by that school. Committees don't just see your score, they filter it through their school's selectivity, your residency status, the in-state status. In fact, if you look across the data for the many schools in the country, in-state status can more than double your odds, and out-of-state can cut your odds in half. So here are 2 identical scores and 2 different fates. Let's talk about a case study. These are both the same student in terms of the 3.5 GPA, 507 MCAT, same budget for how much they can spend on secondaries, but dramatically different outcomes. And I want to show you how the gap is strategy, not the number. For example, applicant A. On her list, she has 3 dream reach schools only. And we'll show you later on some ways to tell if it's a reach school for you. In terms of residency, no, these are all out-of-state schools for her. She wants to get out of the state for her school. And last, this is her P1. I like to call this number P1. P1 is the probability that you are accepted at least one school, if not more. Well, applicant A with this setup, this GPA, this MCAT, has a 14% chance of getting into at least one of her schools. Well, applicant B, she has 1 reach school, 3 targets, and 2 safety schools. She did utilize residency to maximum effect, and 2 of the schools are in-state public schools. Her P1, her probability of at least one acceptance, is 71%. She's 5-6 times more likely to be a physician in this first round, to get accepted and to get into a school, I should say, based on the stats and her strategy. Same GPA, same MCAT, same score, 5 times the chance. This gap is strategy, not the numbers. Let's talk about playing Moneyball with your applications. You may have heard of the use of advanced statistics, things like sabermetrics, all these different ways to find undervalued players in baseball and athletics and now in other sports. Well, this is kind of the strategy framework for what we're going to talk about. It's the use of some statistics and estimates to give you the best probability of getting into at least one school on your list. We're going to show you some ways to kind of maximize that probability and some facts about it, which would be very useful. There was a classic movie, now classic, with Brad Pitt called Moneyball that kind of explores this. as it unfurled in baseball years ago with the Athletics. The idea is to buy the most admission probability per dollar. And the formula is simple. It's the expected value in terms of admissions per dollar that you spend on secondaries and maybe on your time and all these other things. It's the admission probability divided by the application cost. And we're going to show you a tool that kind of helps with that. We recommend loading the list with bargains. In other words, prioritizing high odds, well-matched schools that offer you strong probability at a reasonable cost. Second, keep a couple of reaches. These are dream schools that are kind of lottery tickets. Include them, but don't bet everything on them. Keep your P1 high with your overall list. Next, never overspend where you're shut out. Don't waste budget on schools where you're structurally disadvantaged from the start. So these are kind of the three guiding principles for how to use the tool we're going to show you. We're going to show you a tool that our cohort students get. And even though when you become a cohort student, of course, you get that. If for some reason you choose not to join our cohort for MCAT Smackdown, that's okay. You're going to learn a lot just from kind of seeing sort of how it works. This is the admissions probability and Moneyball optimizer. So for students in the cohort, let's say they're in their MCAT Smackdown interface. We're between the content clinic that they get every week and they're doing some work and they've maybe done their practice exams. They've done their diagnostic, so they know where they leak scores. They've reviewed them. They've looked at why they miss. They see, for example, why they're missing questions, maybe if they've done this over time, how they're improving over time, shows their questions for review and their missed reason when they tag them with why they missed them. And they've used their AI coach that uses their data to kind of help them improve over time. And now it's time, because they've taken so many, they kind of have a sense of where their MCAT score is going to be. So they come to their admissions toolbox and they are looking at their MCAT probability estimator. This works for both USMD schools and USDO schools. You go ahead and set your GPA, whatever that is. And this is your cumulative GPA. You set your MCAT, whatever that is. Let's say this person 506. And this is the school's acceptance rate, which you can find online in publicly available data. It's a public school or a private school, and in-state or out-of-state for the student. And you can see, for example, here's a student example where their probability is 9.3% of admissions if this is in-state for them, and it's much less than that if it's out-of-state. So this gives you a chance to get a sense of how much in-state or out-of-state affects likelihood of the student. And you can see it labels it for them. This is a reach school for them. And when it's out-of-state, if we just change the nature of the school, now it's a long shot. This is an allopathic school. We can do the same for an osteopathic school. And we can see their in-state versus out-of-state. Not much difference at this level. You can see just how close it is to get into either an allopathic or osteopathic with the same MCAT and GPA. Pretty amazing. They're able to save their estimates, etc. Now the Moneyball optimizer. What this does is it has a bunch of different schools that you can set their acceptance probability for. You can set your GPA, your MCAT, and it'll give you the probability of acceptance of at least being accepted to at least one school on your list. You can set your budget for how much money you have to spend on your secondaries. And then it will give you a prioritized list of schools you should target based on their expected value, meaning how much money you're paying for the admissions probability per $1,000 spent. It also values your essay time according to a certain rate. So basically the amount of money and time to do the essay, to pay the fee. And in this one, you would have an 18.3% odds. That's a target. And then if you, and it labels it as a target, this is a private school that you targeted. Turns out that's a long shot. Here's its EV for you. And so basically what you can see is it's Moneyball for you and your secondaries based on how much you have to spend. You can add schools here, etc. School 4, you can say this is my favorite school. And you can put in, the fee is, let's say, $200. There are 5 essays. It's a private school. Let's make it a public school. Residency is out of state. And you can see this makes this a long shot for me. So this type of analysis can make it much different when you go to apply, because again, you're trying to maximize your P1 of your list. And that is the probability of being accepted to at least one medical school on your list. This lets you do that, and it ranks them again based on expected value. You can also save this, come back to it later. You can, obviously name the schools. And this is all from publicly available data you can get with a Google search. The calculator's built in. You set your sliders. It helps you prioritize. And what's so different about this is it shows you these are not yes or no's. They are probability estimates based on historic data that's public domain and that can really help students when they go to decide what school they want. So that's the Moneyball Optimizer. 2 powerful tabs, 1 school and the Moneyball Optimizer. It's, again, question 1 is odds at your dream school or a particular target. Question 2 is your whole list optimized. And question 3 is both paths. It's MDDO data. You can check either one, all based on publicly available data to give you your probability estimate. Again, the one number that matters most to students in general is what's the probability I'm going to get at least one acceptance to a school. The strategy multiplier effect is what we talked about. A well-built list can multiply your probability, remember student A and student B, of acceptance by 5%, by 5 times over a poorly constructed one. Choosing correctly for the different schools given what you have makes a huge difference in your probability of acceptance. This helps you do that. We realized how important that is on the MCAT Smackdown team when we sat around thinking about what we're really here to do is to help you achieve your best self on the MCAT and show that great score to the best of your ability, and then to know what to do with it, to contextualize it. Remember, there's often a 2 times or more in-state boost. Residency advantage can more than double your odds at a particular public medical school. So look, your score was never a verdict. It was always a coordinate. MCAT Smackdown is a complete physician and educator built study system. My background as a professor of surgery, as a quality improvement focused practitioner with a statistical process control, and as an admissions committee chair, helped the group bring all this together. There's a team of great educators on this who helped build a lot of the practice work and who just did so much to make this real. We couldn't be more excited about it. And we realized when we thought about the jobs we really had to do, again, it was not just about helping you achieve your best self on the MCAT. It was about contextualizing that and answering the question, am I cooked? Or should I have more dream schools on my list? Or anything in between. The calculator and other related tools really helps with that because it makes it not just yes, no, but how much and how should I prioritize. The Moneyball Optimizer is that tool. And even if you decide not to join the cohort, although many after this do decide to join the cohort where they get that tool, if you decide not to, at least having seen it, it's going to be super useful for you. Now listen, MCATSmackdown.com has many useful tools for you. One is, and I want you to go there when we're done here, one is a rapid assessment of your MCAT readiness. It'll give you an idea of your score. And then you can kind of get a sense of what schools you may target or what makes sense for you. So MCATSmackdown.com, when we're done, it'll give you not only access to a completely free MCAT readiness evaluation, it'll also give you access to a webinar about the 5 types of score leaks that we see students having and kind of how to help them, all on MCATSmackdown.com. That admissions probability tool is in the cohort. The cohort gets access to that. It's in their interface with the MCAT Smackdown app where they go for their exams and their AI coach and those different things. And that's built with AAMC and AACOMAS publicly available data. And last, the balanced, budget-proof school list is so key. You saw how you can boost your probability of admissions, your P1, to at least one school substantially if you deploy your MCAT and applications correctly. You can build your list from day one with the right reaches, targets, and safeties. Hey, this has been great. I hope you've learned a lot about, hey, am I cooked at a school? Or am I all set to go to this school? And everything in between and what it means. Check out MCATSmackdown.com when we're done. Go ahead and get your free evaluation, a webinar on score leaks. And I've appreciated your time today. I'm really excited for you on your journey. And let's get you there to the best we can help you score. Have a great day.